This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am here with Bernard Repolt, all the way from Remoissenet in Burgundy. How are you today, sir?
Good, thirsty.
Thirsty? Early in the morning, just having a little bit of... What's this wine that we're tasting right now?
Tasting of Nuits Saint-Georges Les Bousselots, which is a lesser known Premier Cru of Nuits Saint-Georges, on the north of Nuits Saint-Georges, on the way to Romanet, which is, we think, the best part of Nuits Saint-Georges, because it's a silky wine, a bit like Romanet. This is next to the Drummond, and we made 4 barrels of this wine.
Fantastic. So, question for you, Bernard. Where did you get your start in wine? Can you remember your first tastes of wine, and how did you get to where you are today with Remoissenet?
Because my father was a surgeon at the Hospice de Beaune, but the hobby was as well, we had a couple of vineyards in the hills of Beaune, on the Côte de Beaune. So we started making wine as a hobby. And then I went to HEC, which is a business school in Paris, came back and wanted to work in the wine. This was in the 1980s, I was 20 years old, and because Burgundy was not doing that well in the 1980s, Burgundy was resting on its laurels, Burgundy was overproducing, and in fact, thanks to the New World, we've been challenged to make better wines.
And you actually have a connection to Canada, so your winemaking career actually brought you to Canada upon a few occasions, did it not?
In 1992, I worked for the Boisset family, and they bought Bouchard-René. And Bouchard-René was a traditional negociant whose agent in Canada was in Inniskillin, Don Ziraldo. So it's how we met with Don, and we decided to have a wine program called Alliance, where we sort of finished some barrels from Inniskillin on better vintages, and called it Alliance. Then I left the Boisset people, and the project was we started Claude Jordan, so they really bought vineyard as a co-venture between Boisset and Vincor.
And after Jaffelin, where did you move on to?
So after Jaffelin, I was hired by Bollinger when they bought Chanson, and that could have been fun, but we had a big scandal, quality blending with Vin de Table, the previous owners. So the company almost went bankrupt. I mean, we had to destroy 600,000 bottles of Beaune Premier Cru.
Oh my
at
goodness.
Chanson. That's why I was sad, but I left Chanson to work with our friends from Louis Jadot. And I stayed there at Louis Jadot for a few years. As I said, it's a great company. Nothing I could bring to Louis Jadot, because Jadot is such a quality and business machine. Then we heard that Remoissenet was for sale in 2004, and some friends of Jadot, the Milstein family and Alpern family from Toronto, decided to buy Remoissenet, and I left Jadot to revamp Remoissenet 10 years ago.
Remoissenet date back to 1877 or thereabouts, but they had gotten a little bit dusty in their years throughout perhaps the 80s going into the 90s, and you have set about reinvigorating the house of Remoissenet. What kind of evolution have you seen, and what have you instigated over the 10 years you have been with Remoissenet?
So the main thing was to get interested in vineyards, whereas Remoissenet as a traditional old negociant was more into blending barrels together. Now everything that we sell at Remoissenet is made by us. It's grapes that we own or we farm, or grapes that we buy, but we are winemakers. So that's very new, and it enabled us to pick as late as we want, to go as low as we want in the yields. So it's a totally different picture than it was before.
And how do the wines taste today compared to the way they were before you came on board?
When we sat down with our friends from Jadot, the Milstein family, Todd Alpern and Pierre Rovani, we decided that too many Burgundy, especially the reds, are picked too early, and the wine have these green characters, these astringents, that never goes away. Because we think that if the wine should be good from the beginning. And to avoid these astringents, you need to pick late to get the ripeness. But then you take risk, you lose quantities. So now the yields we have are really so small. I mean, we're talking 25 hectoliters per hectare, which really means that it takes 3 plants to make 1 bottle of wine. Each plant of vineyard makes a glass of wine.
That's astonishing. That's with the reds, yes?
Yes.
But you also make about 50% of your wine production is white. Tell us a little bit about the Chardonnay production.
Well, I think our reds are good because we do a lot of surgery with sorting table, and I think our whites are good because we don't make a lot of surgery, because the whites are easier to make and they pretty much depend on the quality of the vineyards that we buy the grapes from. Based on the fact that we sell expensive wine, we buy expensive grapes, so the white is easier to make.
And where do you feel Burgundy sits on the world stage today? How it's accepted by sommelier, by restaurateurs, by the general public?
Burgundy is the most expensive wine area in the world. That Burgundy is very often disappointing. So I think for wine buyers, Burgundy is like the Graal. You want to find the great Burgundy.
Of course.
But it's a headache. It's a headache. It's very complicated. Tiny quantities. So I think Burgundy is capable of the best and the worst.
And how would you guide someone's hand if they were going to be shopping for Burgundy? Apart from obviously purchasing one of your bottles from Remoissenet, how would a member of the general public go about being sure they were getting a great bottle of Burgundy?
Well, trust your own palate. I mean, people taste much better than they think. Experts don't know that much, and people should trust their own palate and try themselves. So if they get this, Burgundy is great. Red Burgundy is great when you have this fruit, this sweetness with no sugar, and you can do this with low yield, picking late, and then when you get that fruit, you're in heaven. So simple and.
Sounds good to me. Bernard Repolt, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution, and I haven't seen you in about 18 years. Absolute pleasure to see you today. Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Thank you, Jimmy.